Good day, people. This is Kosaki. Kosaki again. I am coming back to you with another audio visual motivational donut. Kosaki and consulting with placement is very determined to make a difference in everybody's life. Even if it's one person, that will delight us. Let us help you to build it. We are still on the topic of goals. We started this journey, this program. We started with defining goals, the process of setting up goals. That was our first video, and the second video was on SMART goals, and the second and the third video was on defining individual goals, and the fourth one was defining unit goals. But now we'll be talking about maximizing goal success. It's important that when you are a company, when you are working for a company, you always look at ways of maximizing success of your goals. There are many ways that you can do to maximize your goal success. To do that, you need to be a person that always work hand in hand with your team. And when you work hand in hand with your team, you do that with an objective that you want to achieve. You want to achieve and maximize your goal success as a team. Yes, you will be there as a manager, but for the corporate to be able to obtain good results, you need everybody to pull in the effort. But then how do you do that? How do you then maximize goal success? There are many ways that we need to look at. First of all, you need to make sure that you define your goals clearly. And when you define your goals clearly, you need to also make sure that you look at the environment that you are working in. Once you've looked at the environment, you also look at the members, the energy that they are actually pulling. You can define each individual according to their performance that they've shown. But to maximize goal success needs everybody to partake fully and to be committed in each and every effort of an exercise. Now we're talking about the first point that we'll be actually talking about in this video of maximizing goal success. We'll be talking about establishing a sense of ownership. The second point would be defining achievable, challenging goals. The third one will be focusing on targets. Fourth one will be determining performance metrics. And the fifth one will be assigning responsibilities. Our video, we try to make it a little bit shorter. So we're going to be touch basing a little bit on these points so that we can clearly understand what is it that we need to know in order to make sure that you achieve your goals by maximizing them successfully. Now, I want us to go back to the first point, which is establishing a sense of ownership. It's important that you and your employees must see your goals as important, right? And worthy of effort. Otherwise, you will lose your motivation when you hit obstacles. That one is a fact. One way to achieve this sense of commitment is to involve your employees in setting goals and determining how to achieve them. This gives employees a sense of ownership over the goals you've set together, and will help them hold each other accountable for the end results. Which is what you need to do. You need to always begin by discussing corporate goals and how your unit can help realize them. Explain why you are selecting challenging goals and why achieving them is so important for both, that is, the organization and your team. Make sure people are a personal benefit. Two, such as greater visibility in the organization, a bonus of unit goals are met, skills development or non-monetary rewards that your team members value, such as certificates, like for example, in a restaurant or a company, funded trips, for employees and their families. This type of approach will always build awareness of how your goals align with organizational strategy and demonstrate to employees the importance of what you are asking them to do. So these are the key factors that we always need to look at. These are the objectives that we need to focus on when you want to establish a sense of ownership. You have to invite your employees. They have to be part of a team. They have to see themselves as important. They have to pull the effort. The second point, defining achievable, challenging goals, which is the first point, would be part of your task in setting unit and individual goals, is balancing achievable with ambition. You want to set goals that are possible to meet, but that also stretch and excite people, infusing them with the sense that there is a challenge to meet. This is a delicate balance. If the goals you've set are too ambitious, you can run the risks that people won't be able to accomplish them. Not only can this be embarrassing for you and your employees, it can also have more serious repercussions. That is, for example, frustration or demotivation can result if you have to reduce on employees' bonus because he or she missed a target. Your team members are also likely to resent you as a manager if you set goals that are not achievable. At the same time, you don't want to aim too low. If you are overly cautious, for example, setting goals that can be reached very easily, you will miss the opportunity or opportunities which will end up with mediocre performance, which is you'll end up regretting yourself as to why did I set up such, such small amount of goals, because the main objective is to make sure that you are setting the achievable and the most challenging goals. So when you do that, you need to make sure that you are actually setting the standard. As much as you are doing that with your team, but you're setting a standard for your organization, So those are actually pointers that you need to understand when you're defining, achievable but challenging goals. Let's come to the point of whereby we need to focus on targets. What do we need to do if we want to focus on targets? Starting off with small specific targets is another way to motivate your team members to keep forging ahead toward their goals, of which many managers try to get their people to do too much, and too quickly, and fail to focus on one or two sharply defined targets. It is nearly impossible to succeed when you establish vague or overly broad goals. Consider, for example, like one of the management team in a company of a newspaper publishing plant that tried to institute a comprehensive quality improvement effort. The team accomplished Very little, because the company's needs were so great and employees were focused in many different directions. Of which, after all of this attempt, which it was a failed attempt, the team then worked with production managers to target a specific achievable goal, reducing the number of typographical errors in the company's products. So these are things that we need to avoid. You've got to make sure that you are realistic. You've got to make sure that the people that are involved in this exercise or in this effort, that they understand that what they need to do, it is possible to be attainable, you know. So this was another point on focusing on targets. I'm actually presenting the objective of maximizing goal success. We are on our fourth point, which is determining performance metrics. How do you then determine performance metrics? A better way to maximize the probability that your people will achieve their goals is to first, listen to this one very carefully, is to first determine performance metrics. That is, what will happen if a goal is achieved, right? How will you know it's been achieved? Too many managers state goals in vague terms, which is, you've got to be very clear. We stated that at the beginning. You've got to be very clear. You've got to be very specific. You've got to make sure that they are realistic, are goals that can be achievable. For example, we'll reorganize our systems to make the customer our top priority. That is being specific. When it comes to time to evaluate achievement of this particular goal, it would be difficult to say whether the goal had been met. A better way to state the same goal would be to express it in terms of specific desired performance. We will redesign the entire customer service process. If we are successful, 95% of customer calls will be handled by a single service rep, and 80% of all calls will be resolved in 3 minutes or less. You know, you are actually detailing your objectives on that particular goals, and you're specifying the areas. Each area must be able to achieve 95% with a specific period of time and all of that. Those are things that we need to talk about when we are actually determining performance metrics. Going to assigning responsibility. Once you and your employees agree on a set measurable goals, make it clear who is responsible for each component. Like the suggestions discussed earlier, this one will help increase the chances that people will achieve their goals. Because if you don't, what will happen? Because if you don't explicitly assign a responsibility for specific goals, your employees may delegate it upward. That is, look to you to achieve the goal. That's always the case. Because if the goal is not achievable, they look at you, and then now even you realize that you made a mistake. On that particular mistake that you've made, then it makes you to be a person that cannot organize your team, cannot give a set and a specific direction, cannot be realistic, you know. Because before you can set the responsibilities, you've got to make sure that everything that needs to be done, it has to be done accordingly. It's calculated, and the risks that are involved are very unreasonable for your employees. When they take those risks, they know that we take this risk knowingly that everything that we'll be doing is going to be done, is going to be achieved. Our last point, which is our last point, which is this one, assigning responsibilities. So it's important that we state these actually objectives clearly. We make sure that we look at them clearly, and we also prepare our teams, and make sure that when we prepare our teams, we also get involved. We all know that I'm not going to explain that, like when you are a manager, you actually apply the MBWA, which is managing by walking around, which is because the main objective is to actually be part of the process in the achievement or maximizing of this goal success. So these are tips that we are actually giving so that everybody can understand what needs to be done when it comes to maximizing your goals and becoming successful in that process. This is Coach Saki and Consulting with Placement. We thank you for watching this video, and may you please visit our YouTube channel and like and subscribe and give us a feedback. Thank you for your time. Let us help you to build it. Goodbye.